Confucius once said we all have two lives. The second one starts when you realize you only have one. When and why did your second life begin? I had a woodworking accident just over 2 years ago. Wasn't huge. I lost my left index finger, but it kind of punched me in the gut. Makes you realize you aren't invincible. Losing a finger sounds huge to me. Mine isn't intense as some of these other stories, but here it goes. I played guitar for the last 5 years, and it has become one of my biggest passions. 6 weeks ago I lost my footing while climbing a platform, and I'm fairly certain I have permanent tendon damage in my left hand. It didn't sink in what exactly had happened until I was in my car after the doctor's appointment. I would now spend more of my life with this faulty left hand than when it was fine. This is now the rest of my one life. Passion's gone. Zero activity in my life because I'm afraid of everything, and slightly more useless than before. I miss the ignorance. Hey Jude, I'm sorry for what happened. I hope you will find a way to deal with this whole situation you have going on. Don't be so afraid. You are not useless. A dear friend got cancer, out of the blue and bad. We were 29 and both just hitting our strides in life and work. She was dead 18 months later. It absolutely rocked me to my core how fragile life is. Last week, a coworker had a gigantic heart attack and instantly died right there in the cafeteria. I didn't know him, so while it was a horrible thing to witness, I'll eventually get over it. What shook me more was the fact he was only in his early 20s, just about younger than me, and wasn't much more overweight than I am. Seeing firsthand how suddenly all my bad decisions can just erase me from existence, and the fact I'd had a couple of small chest pains and ignored them in the past, I threw out everything remotely sugary the instant I got home. It didn't happen in front of me, but the guy who sat behind me at work was in his early 30s and died this way. He was a very heavy smoker, constantly eating junk food, to the point that he actually would take breaks he wasn't entitled to in order to snack food from the cafeteria and eat at his desk. Despite the fact that my values didn't really align with his, I was happy for him because he was looking forward to his son being born. He loved his son and his baby mama, who he was going to marry in another few months. He died a month before his new child was born, without ever having married. The son didn't even get to see his dad. That's sad. After having a stroke, I became much more determined to do stuff. I'm much more aware that YOLO. I don't think that YOLO fits the title of the post. You only live each life once. YOLO then. I realized I was the crazy ex and immediately switched that shit around. Oh boys, reason behind becoming the crazy ex. January 13th, 2018. I was in Honolulu, Hawaii during the false alarm ballistic missile strike. I called my parents to say goodbye and waited for the impact in the basement of our hotel with my fiancé. It took way too long for them to correct the mistake and let people know it was a false alarm. We were visibly shaken all day, and upon returning I decided then that I would request 3 months off work for my honeymoon instead of 2 weeks. Traveled the world and remembered how important family is compared to work. I still need to remind myself about it every so often, though, because the grind gets to you. My father-in-law slept through the false alarm, lol. Classic. When I graduated high school and realized I had no skills, no interesting hobbies, nothing interesting about myself, and that it was no wonder I struggled so much with dating, spent the last few years changing that. And how's it going now? I'm pretty fucking happy. It was at really low point in my life. I didn't think things could get worse. So many things going wrong, and so many bad choices being made. I was at a point where ending it all was the only option I could see. Upon cutting into my wrist everything was clear. It could be worse, and it will be, but shit I don't want to die. 56 internal stitches. 15 external and I'm still here. Things did get worse, but then they got amazing. Glad you're here, man. Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too. I've an amazing little girl and a GF I'm marrying next year and I'd have never met them. 2 years ago last month I used meth for the last time. So 1 week after being told I have prostate cancer at 47, I decided I needed to get fitter and healthier. But honestly, my heart wasn't in it, and I was on the verge of depression. It's 5:40 AM and I'm idly drinking tea before going to the gym, but I'm 50 over 50 about going back to bed and pretty much giving up on life. Scrolling down Facebook, I see the quote, "A man has two lives. One before he realizes he is mortal and one after." I stared at it like it was a revelation. Something I can't describe lifted in me. I drained my tea and went to the gym. Almost exactly 1 year later I'm fit. Officially, I have lost 15 kilograms, with another 13 to go, and 6 mornings a week I row a 10k on a Concept 2 rowing machine, and go to the gym down weights once a week. My last scan showed the cancer hasn't changed one bit in a year, and now will be monitored for 2 years, to see if it's stable. If I do need to have it removed, I'm in the best shape for a successful opus. It's no exaggeration to say this quote changed my life. Semicolon. Update. Wow. Just wow. I never expected this response. Thank you so much. I have tried to reply to everybody who asked a question. Thank you for the gold and silver. And thank you for the support. It means a great deal to an old fucker like me. Also, I will never type dung instead of doing ever again. Oh my god. I'm glad all those dung weights have helped you. Where do I get dung weights? Any weights are dung weights, if you aren't a fucking coward. I suppose when I turned 20. Prior to that I had never thought past that age. Spent a long time stuck in a now what phase trying to not have an existential crisis. Eventually went to college. Got a degree and now work in the field I studied for. Battled depression and won. And found some of the things I was looking for in life. Starting to figure out what I want from life and what it's going to take to get there. So I guess I started my second life when I got out of my age 20 funk. How did you beat depression? Existential philosophy really puts it in perspective. You need to ask yourself why. If nothing matters, you continue not to kill yourself. And understanding the why, even the little things, is a part of accepting life and finding what makes yours a life worth living. That's how I did it, at least. Exurb1A on YouTube has great videos that offer a counter to existential dread. It is a little depressing though. Everything is depressing, if you think about it enough. I got psychological help. I used to think that life just sucked for everyone, and the trick was to fake your way through it. That faking was what I thought other people's happiness was. From puberty to after my 40th I lived where every moment of happiness was weighed down by an ever-present depression and lack of self-esteem. I know this is small compared to what most people go through in life, and that's exactly the mentality that kept me from getting help. Took a bit, but after talking with a counselor once a week for a few months, being referred to a psychiatrist with initial diagnosis, and working with my psychiatrist to find medicines at work, I finally feel what I can only assume is normal. I wake up most days with an underlying happiness that's never been there before. Moments with my kids are not darkened by thoughts that I don't deserve them, or that they wouldn't love me if they knew me. Don't be like me. Even if your mountain seems small compared to your view of the mountain others are climbing, that doesn't mean you couldn't use some help finding the right path. To quote an old man from my childhood, it's dangerous out there. 40 years is a hell of a long time to be feeling like that. You're stronger than you think, man. When I lost a wife and daughter, the first few months I don't even remember, but I do remember when I started to heal. It was a long road, but once I set my sights on going back to school to become a lawyer, I really began to start to heal. This Friday I will be sworn in as an attorney. My man, they're both proud of you. When I quit my job 5 years ago and biked across the country, the second I finished I realized that I was forever going to look at life differently. I had been working an absolutely horrendous job, high stress, low pay, terrible hours, all because I needed the experience it gave me for my career. At some point I realized I don't have to be this miserable. Rage quit, bought a bicycle, and cycled across the continental US for 2 months. Found my center and my confidence, and started treating myself better. Met some of the most interesting, most batshit crazy, and most honorable people along the way. Best decision I ever made, and I still treat myself with the respect I feel I deserve. When one of my best friends and his sister were murdered by his dad at 16, made me realize how precious life is, and that I should be always grateful for what I have. It also wrecked my best friend's life forever, and he will never be the same. Well, I guess getting murdered had probably wrecked his life, but IDK. 2 best friends. Notice the use of one of my best friends. A few months ago my mother fell down the stairs at 2 AM. We were home alone, and she wasn't responding. I called 112 and an ambulance came. She's fine now, but the thought of losing her shook me so much that I decided to throw my life around. I only have one, and need to do as much as possible with it. I came out as B, starting eating healthier, and focused on school a lot more. Life has been going a lot better since then. Just now. Nice. 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 I had a conversation with my dad about winning the lottery. He asked me if I would go to film school if money wasn't an issue. I, of course, answered affirmatively. He told me to go for it, so I fucking did. Here I'm in my first semester as a film student, living the life I want to. Life is good, RN. I'm not making compromises. Good for you, but be smart. One life lesson I learned was you can spend your whole life dreaming, but if you don't realistically build a ladder to get to those dreams, they are worthless. Film is a cutthroat industry. Take every advantage you can. Start a YouTube channel. Use your knowledge of film to build a product, etc. At the end of the day, everyone needs money, so be smart about it. The first one hasn't even started. Oh, how is it like being in the womb? Tastes like alcohol. When I was 25, mushrooms killed me. They were only joking, of course, but it seemed very real to me, and nothing has ever been the same really. Same. Intense mushroom trip in college opened up a lot of thoughts on mortality and time. New perspective indeed. I'd buried most of my family, all grandparents, father and brother by 24. I'm not sure I remember the first life. Wow, yikes. Hope you're doing better now. I grew up super Mormon. My life was dedicated to being the perfect Mormon girl. Church for 3 hours on Sunday, seminary for an hour 5 times a week, mutual on Tuesday nights, service project all day on Saturdays, Book of Mormon study every morning, and for an hour before bed. The church also completely determined what I wore, how I spoke, who my friends were, my political beliefs, etc. The Mormon church is all consuming. They even get 10% of your pre-taxed money. But this is all okay. But this life is just a test. We'll have all of eternity to do whatever we want if we can just dedicate this life to the church. Plus if we don't, you're doomed to an eternity of hell, and you won't see your family in the afterlife. One day I found out the church was all bullshit. All of it. It was started by a scam artist. I went from fully believing Mormon to an atheist in the period of 30 minutes. That was over 25 years ago. I realized I only have this life, and I need to make the best of it. I'm happily married now. I'm raising 3 little heathens, and I try to make each day count. The weekends are for being outdoors. You said it. Congratulations on getting out, but what changed your mind? I was at Temple Square and someone handed me a pamphlet talking about the gross things the founder of the church did. Multiple wives. This was early 90s. I'd never heard of polygamy. The church is a little more open about it now. The leader just did a ton of shady shit. Lots of lies about the first vision of God, the way he wrote the Book of Mormon, treasure hunting, scamming people, etc. It's a long list. Joseph Smith was a sick guy. The church makes you crazy depressed. You're constantly being judged. You're never good and or perfect enough. As soon as I said fuck all of this, I became so much happier. It's the devil according to my poor brainwashed mother. Don't even get me started on the sick interviews I used to have with my bishop. 40-year-old man locked alone in a room with my teenage self, asking me about my masturbation habits and where my boyfriend had touched me, all while making me feel like Sky Dad was super sad about it. Lots of lies about the first vision of God, the way he wrote the Book of Mormon, treasure hunting, scamming people, etc. It's a long list. Joseph Smith was a sick guy. Lucy Harris smart. Martin Harris dumb. Meeting the woman who would become my wife. I had been in numerous crappy relationships, mostly because I was childish, lazy, and selfish, and was thoroughly unemployed with only a jet to my name. I had been taking classes at our local community college, but had no specific goal. I was used to ex-girlfriends telling me to get a job and grow up, but this woman was different. She pushed me, but in a loving way. She challenged me to be my best. We got married right after I got my master's degree. Absolutely none of what I have achieved would have happened without her, and I'm thankful and grateful for this second life. 9. Got my first migraine. Slowly realized my life was gonna hurt going forward no matter what, so enjoy the moments you are physically able to. In less than 3 months, got divorced, got fired from work, lost a grandparent and a parent, and I have 2 small kids, going on the 4th month, and have put in over 200 applications, only nibbles and no job offers from reputable places. did have someone set up a fake interview as an attempt for sex trafficking, so please, be care of that, people. My second life is starting between everything, now and near future. Just have to find all the puzzle pieces. 4 years ago, when I started LARPing and stopped giving fucks. I don't understand why people make fun of LARPing. It's not my cup of tea. But what's the issue with people gathering peacefully and enjoying the outdoors? It's certainly better than getting blasted in a bar. Don't yuck other people's yums. 2 months ago, one of my best friends almost died during our trip to Tokyo. He is 24 years old, and during the trip he found out he had diabetes type 1 the hard way, which he probably had for the entirety of his life, but he just didn't know it. He just collapsed in our apartment, and I remember getting a call from my friend, who went with him in the ambulance, telling us, "Guys, you need to come to this hospital as soon as possible, because he is dying right here right now." Luckily he survived, and he is currently in a hospital here in the Netherlands waiting for a new kidney. That trip taught me so much about how precious life is, and how it can end so sudden. For the last 2 months I've appreciated every moment so much more. I guess being closer to death really makes you feel more alive. It hasn't yet. I'm still young with the dumb mentality that I'm immortal. Wait, people die. Look, you've upset him. Second life started the day I had my first heart attack. I've had 4, and let me tell you what, life is precious to everyone. I don't need anybody's bullshit anymore. I take my second one to make sure my kids understand how to make the right choices and respect life for what it is.